Hey YouTube fam, it's your girl Leah back again with another video. In today's video, as you can see from the title, is a video on what it's like living in Charlotte versus what it's like living in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, recently I did a video on what it was like living in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I mentioned in that video I went to school in Raleigh, so I lived in Raleigh for 4 years, so I got a lot of requests, hey, can you do a video like this based in Raleigh, based about your living in Raleigh perspective. And I grappled with the idea just simply because I lived in Raleigh, like I said, during my college years. Like while I was living in college, and living in a city while you're in college is way different than living in a city as a 30-year-old. Like me living in Charlotte as a 30-year-old is different than me when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 even, living in Raleigh as a student. You know, entertainment was football games and basketball games. Restaurants were Chili's and Applebee's. I wasn't really eating out like that, or it was on campus or fast food. Housing was campus based. Friends and making friends was all around you. Your whole circle. The school was your friendships. So a lot of what I experienced during my time in Raleigh was just basically living as a student. So I didn't probably live the life that I would have lived in Raleigh if I had spent a majority of my 20s in Raleigh. But I still wanted to appease people. I wanted to do a video based in Raleigh, but I'm going to kind of do it in a comparison to Charlotte. So I made my Charlotte video. Again, thank you guys so much for the love on that video. That video did extremely well in terms of the viewerships that you guys gave. So appreciative to that. And the dialogue was great in the comment section. So I'll pull some dialogue from that video that I might not have answered in that video, and I'll talk about it in relation to living in Raleigh, North Carolina. But without further ado, let's just get started. So I got this little cup from Etsy. I love this little cup. It's my little North Carolina cup with the heart over Charlotte, which is where I currently reside. But the state of North Carolina has a couple of big cities that you guys might be familiar with. You might be familiar, of course, with the Charlottes, the Greensboros, the Fayettevilles. J. Cole put Fayetteville on the map, the Wilmingtons, the Asheville's. Now, in my first video, I mentioned that I grew up right outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. So I was born and raised in the 704, but wasn't calling Mecklenburg County, Charlotte, North Carolina, my home until 2012. So all my formative years, 0 through 18, were spent in the 704. I went to college in Raleigh. I didn't say the college in my first video, but you guys, if you're familiar with my channel, know what college I went to. North Carolina State, go Wolfpack. I was there from 2008 when I graduated high school to 2012 when I walked across that stage and exited stage right to move right on down to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2012. I got a job. My first job was back here. Fortunately or unfortunately, at the time, I was so pissed. I wanted to stay in Raleigh. All my friends were still in Raleigh. Some were still in school. Some had graduated from school and were staying in Raleigh. So I wasn't coming down back to Charlotte. Bags are packed and smiles on my face. I did move back at that time reluctantly. Now I look at it and I'm like, thank goodness I moved down here. I can't imagine if I had stayed in Raleigh, but it might have been a different experience. You guys will see in today's video. So Charlotte, North Carolina is not the capital of North Carolina. Raleigh, North Carolina is, but Charlotte, North Carolina is the most populated city in North Carolina with I think this is a 2010 census, so the number is probably way higher now, but it's 857,425 residents in Charlotte. Mecklenburg County, or the Charlotte metro area, we're over 1 million. So there's over 1 million people when you think about the county and the metro area of Charlotte, but just in the city, we're roughly still under 1 million. Charlotte, North Carolina is the 15th most populous city in the US. So when you're tallying all the biggest cities, you're tallying the Philadelphias, the New Yorks, the LAs, the Miamis, Charlotte ranks number 15 on that list. Charlotte is the bigger city of the two when it comes to population. So I've lived in several area codes in Charlotte: 28269, 28262. I lived in a couple in Raleigh, just 27606 and 27607. So really back and forth, close to each other. Both areas I lived in were close to each other. Now I live in South Charlotte because I do work in South Carolina. So I moved from northern Charlotte to down here because I needed to be close. That was pre-pandemic, before I knew I was going to be, home all the time. I would have lived anywhere if I knew this was going to be the case. But back then I moved here just because I wanted to be very close to work. I do not like a commuter. This girl does not like driving places at all. Now I'm going to break this video down just like I did my last video. I'm going to start with the same thing I started with the last time, and it was the housing market. The housing market, Raleigh versus Charlotte. Now again, I hadn't bought a house in Raleigh, and I had not lived in an apartment that was not near campus, about campus life, you know, catering to a campus type of demographic, because the apartments that we find as students are a lot cheaper than they would be if I was somebody who is, you know, a 26-year-old working professional not wanting to live near a college campus. I'd say the prices of apartments, and I didn't really talk about apartments in my last video. I talked and focused more on home ownership in my last video, but I got comments about, you're not talking about apartments. I even got a comment, like I mentioned the price of my apartment in my last video, and somebody said $1,200 for a 2-bedroom is unreasonable. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Going back to what I just said, the 15th most populated city in the nation. $1,200 for a 2-bedroom. When I talk to other people who have a 2-bedroom here, I'm pretty much paying cheaply. You got to put things in perspective of cities. I can't look at a New Yorker and say, oh, you're paying $2,200 for a 2-bedroom. That's unreasonable. Unreasonable is relative to your location. If I lived in the middle of a city that didn't have a lot going on, I didn't have as many businesses, you know, it was a very rural town, maybe $1,200 would be unreasonable. Same thing for Raleigh. Raleigh, you know, if you're near a campus, a college campus, if you're a college student, the rent's not going to be as bad as if you move, you know, you're going near Crabtree, you're going to Capitol Boulevard, you're going near Glenwood, you're going near these areas, you're going to expand the price. You know, living near Avon Ferry or living near Hillsborough is going to be way, you know, not way cheaper, but a wee bit cheaper, because they know, hey, this isn't going to be compelling to the crowd of, you know, 20 something plus. We know we're catering to an 18 to 23-year-old crowd. Let's just keep the rents a little bit low, and you're going to deal with excessive noise, partying, craziness, maybe cops called occasionally, but that's what's going to come when you live near a college campus. Same thing goes for Charlotte. If you live near the university area, it might be a little bit cheaper. But I got a comment in my video talking about, I'm going to UNC Charlotte. I'm looking for apartments near this area, but all of them have bad reviews. It's really sucky. Yeah, they're going to have bad reviews, because college apartments, if you went to college, you know how they go. You know the party life. You know, you're not getting your studying done unless it's an apartment with quiet hours, which how often are those enforced? It's going to be a crazy jam-packed time, and I'm sure people who leave reviews oftentimes leave bad reviews. I don't go out my way sometimes. I should, but I don't when I have a great experience. So apartments, renting, I can definitely say it's definitely more expensive when it comes to Charlotte, North Carolina, but you have your expensive areas as in Raleigh as well too. But housing, the housing market, buying a home, because I eventually want to buy a home. That's what I focused on in my last video, because that's my goal for 2021, probably 2022 at this point. But I want to be in a really good space to buy a home, because I understand I could be paying $1,200 towards a mortgage, which, you know, is creating equity and all that. So I get paying rent is putting money down the drain. I'm trying to change that. I want to buy a home, but in this market, in the market everywhere, is crazy right now for home buying. If you are thinking about selling your house, sell it now, because it will be gone tomorrow. You could sell that house tomorrow. I go on Zillow so often I go on Zillow, and this is a map of the Charlotte region. This is a map of the Charlotte area. I can just click on any home at random, you know, house for sale, pretty house, $290,000. It's been on the market for 1 day. Sure, it'll be gone. Lickety split. Gonna choose another home at random. It's $285,000, and it is currently under contract. How long was this on Zillow? It was on the market for 4 days. So it was on Zillow for 4 days. It is now under contract. Let's go over here to this home. Let's pick on this one. It is $280,000, and it is under contract. It was put on Zillow 6 days ago. Again, let's do a fourth one. Again, Charlotte. This is what I love to do in my spare time. Oh, it's a townhome for sale. Okay. Not a bad location. 21 hours. It's been on Zillow for 21 hours. So if I were buying a home right now, I would need to make an offer like right now, or it'll be gone. Houses, 6 days. That house that sold it under contract in 6 days, that's a long time here. I've heard so many stories. Real estate agents tell so many stories that I see on Facebook. They're like, it's nonstop right now. I'm moving so quickly. I'm putting in offers so quickly. That's the story here, and that's the story in Raleigh too. The same story. I don't think the prices are going to start going down or anything's going to happen, just because, like I mentioned in my last video, Charlotte is a hub for transplants. And what that means is a lot of Northerners are saying, why am I up here? what is going on here? Why am I paying these insane prices in New York City? Why don't I just move down south, Atlanta, Dallas, maybe even Charlotte? I'm going to add that to the list. And they're coming down here and they're driving up the prices because, hey, up there, they were just getting a 1-bedroom condo for $250,000. Now here, I can get an actual home for $250,000. So I'll buy that. So it's jacking up the prices for us natives. Like I mentioned, I have been somebody who comes in this video with the comparison of always living in North Carolina. NC has always been where I've lived. I've never lived in another state. So natives are the ones who are seeing this happening at an alarming rate. If you just moved down here in maybe 2015, maybe these things aren't strange to you. But as somebody who has been here, again, like I mentioned, my mom worked in Charlotte for the last 22 years. So as a child, we would come up all the time. I said in my last video, RIP Eastland Mall. We would go to Eastland Mall all the time. I busted my tail on that ice skating rink, a couple times, to the point where I don't ice skate at this point. I don't do that anymore. I did that as a child. Don't do that now. But I came up here so often, and it's just changed so much that the market, from even when I moved here officially in 2012, if I was smart, I probably should have just bought a house at that point, because that house now would be probably worth $70,000 more at this point, $100,000 more at this point. But again, the market has in the last 8 years just skyrocketed. I'd say Raleigh is a city that's seeing the effects too. So they're definitely getting more expensive. I've had friends who live there. Rent was comparable sometimes to what I was paying. If not a little bit less, it was at least comparable when it came to housing. If you watch HGTV, then you're familiar with the show Love It or List It. Most all of the episodes are filmed in Raleigh, North Carolina. I didn't realize that until recently, and I was sitting down watching a marathon, and I was like, why is everybody in Raleigh? And then I talked to my mom. She was like, did you not know Love It or List It is actually, filmed in Raleigh, North Carolina? They've made that one of their hubs. So like, if you watch that show too, you see the homes are $300,000. People got high budgets. But again, if you go on that show, typically, it's never starting below $200,000 and never rarely starting below $220,000. So again, just like in Charlotte, most people, if they feel like, hey, I'm being priced out of the city, I need to move elsewhere, I got to go in the metro area, they'll move to Cabarrus County, Gastonia, Union County, York County. They'll move to Matthews, Mint Hill, Mount Holly, far out of Shelby if they need to. Like, they'll move to the outskirts. Same thing with Raleigh. You might not live and be able to afford in Raleigh, but you might go to Gardner, Apex, Holly Springs, Fruque Barina. You might go to, I was about to say Cary, but Cary's just as expensive. Durham. You might go somewhere else. You might go in the outskirts of the cities. So just know, if you're thinking about moving to Charlotte and you're thinking about buying a home in Charlotte, get ready to pay some money. And if not, if Charlotte, you don't have to live in Charlotte, think about the surrounding areas. The surrounding areas aren't bad. I'm starting to have to, think about that in my mind too. I might need to get my mind out of, living in Charlotte, and might have to expand my horizons to living on the outskirts of Charlotte. Now, when it comes to public transportation, like I mentioned in my last video, Charlotte is ranked 97th out of 100 when it comes to best cities for transportation. So that means there's 96 cities who have ranked higher than us when it comes to public transportation, meaning the bus system, and now we have a light rail and we have kind of a trolley as well. Not to say that, we don't have a good system. Some people comment in my video still and we're like, I think it's okay. Yes, it's okay, but I want people to manage their expectations. Some people are like, well, you're comparing it to cities like New York and DC, and it's no way in comparison. I get that. I know. I've been to New York. I've been to DC. I know we don't have the extensive years and years of infrastructure and makeup that these systems have gone through. But like I mentioned, we have a lot of transplants, and some transplants are actually watching this video thinking about, hey, I'm going to make my next move. I need them to manage their expectations. I've had candidates apply at my company, and they've been from out of city, and they didn't have a car, so they had to Uber over, and they were like, oh my God, am I going to have to get a car if I get this? They had to grapple with the idea that they are probably going to need a car if they work where I work. I mentioned in my last video, if I wanted to get from bus to my current job, which is a 20-minute drive, I did the CATS bus tracker. It would take me 3 hours, over 3 hours to get there through public transportation. Whereas if you're in a major city, again, one of the 96 cities that is ahead of Charlotte, it is going to be a lot easier. So it's not up for debate. I'm not debating the topic. It's not the best. It's not the best. We do have that light rail, which is great if you live right along the light rail, but as opposed to like a DC or a New York metro system, those kind of interject. It might meet at a place and then you can grab on another one. This goes in kind of a straighter line and kind of goes swoop down. So if you live, farther away from it, you're gonna have to drive to it and then park and then ride and do all that, which is an option. And for those people who are thinking about Raleigh, it's not, terrible. For me, when I was in college, so I rode it a lot and I loved our college. Our Wolfpack bus was, I could count on it. It was so reliable. I'd give it the #1 transportation system I'd ever been on. When you go out to the city though, there's still those same complaints about the public transportation. They do have buses systems. They don't have a light rail like we have here. They have Amtrak. I used to take Amtrak all the time from Raleigh to Charlotte, even when I had a car on campus, just because it was just super quick. I love scenic routes. I love seeing everything. So we do have an Amtrak station. When it comes to flights in both cities, I actually think RDU has some pretty good flights. They have more flights when it comes to Delta. We don't have as many Delta flights. They have a lot more flights when it comes to JetBlue. I wasn't even familiar with JetBlue until kind of going to Raleigh, because it wasn't something we had a lot of here at Charlotte Douglas. And RDU, which is Raleigh's airport, Raleigh-Durham, they have a lot more Southwest flights as well, as more than we have currently as I'm filming this right now. So their airport, I'd say it's comparable. I say you're getting a similar kind of experience. I think Charlotte is a hub for Americans, so there might be a lot more American, but I do know I had a colleague who lived in Raleigh, and of course I take Charlotte Douglas. We were both going to the same location. We were both going to Columbus for a work trip, and his flights to Columbus, $250, mine $600. I was like so pissed. I mean, it wasn't my money, of course, but I was like, man, if it was like I was going with my own coin, I would drive up to Raleigh and then bust a flight up from Raleigh, because that's so dirt cheap. It's $400 cheaper. I don't know. We couldn't figure out what that was, and we took that same flight twice. We did that same flight twice, and both times, if anything, mine was like $700 the second time, and his was still $200 something. So again, I couldn't figure that out, but I think they're on most levels comparable when it comes to flight prices. So when it comes to demographics, the racial composition of the city. Now, this is the 2010 census, and when it comes to Charlotte, it says it's 45.1% white, 35% Black or African American, 13.1% Hispanic or Latin American, 5% Asian, 0.5% American Indian, 0.1% Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, and 2.7% 2 or more races. Now, the composition when it comes to Raleigh is 57.5% white, 29.3% Black or African American, 4.3% Asian American, 2.6% 2 or more races, 0.5% Native American, and then less than 0.1% of Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islanders. But I get the question, how do you feel it? Do you feel it more? So my experience at Raleigh was a lot different, because a lot of my friends and a lot of the people I hung around, I met at NC State. So they were my friends while I was on campus. So you guys who watch my vlogs, you know who encouraged me to even make a channel. Sasha was somebody I met in college. My friend Madge was somebody I met in college. Miles was somebody I met in college. These were all friends that I happened to meet in Raleigh at NC State. Again, NC State was such a bubble, was such a colossal group of people. I think the population or the enrollment at the time that I was there was 20,000 students. It's not a small school. You got the bigger class sizes there. It's a big university there. So I did feel, it felt like a melting pot there. Now, I didn't have to, go out into the working force, go out into the outskirts and live a life there, but it does seem like minorities are a little less there, since 57.5% are white. In Raleigh, that means that, minorities are all of 43.5%, as opposed to in Charlotte, where it's 45.1% white. So that means it's 55% minority. So more minorities than there are Caucasian or white people in the city. But I think in both cities, again, it felt different. It felt different because I was in college. So that's the one area where I can't give you a comparison to Raleigh, because Raleigh was just, it's different when you're in a city for college. Do I feel the diversity here? Again, it's probably because of who I associate with. I'm somebody who, I get along with everybody. I get along with anybody. I'm a big proponent of diversity and inclusion, but being part of diversity and inclusion is being an ally to people who do not look like me and making sure that they understand you're not going to disrespect me, you're not going to touch my hair, but you know our boundaries and you understand us. So I think it's about working together. So I do see and feel the diversity heavy here in Charlotte. I mean, we're still the South. It's still the South, like I said in my last video. Don't let the North fool you in North Carolina. Don't think, oh, that's South Carolina and below is the South. Like Alabama, Mississippi, you know, all those cities are the South. North Carolina is different. No, North Carolina is still, you know, got the Confederate flags, and pretty much every city, even my hometown, there's a monument to a Confederate soldier just proudly standing in this town square. Just proudly standing there with his Confederacy and all that, and they didn't even have a fuss. They didn't even think about taking it down. When everything was going down in 2020 with the social unrest, wasn't a conversation on the table about taking down these monuments. They don't see it as a slap in the face like it would be having kind of a Nazi soldier standing in the middle of some kind of Jewish community. No, they don't see it the same in our cities. It's still got those remnants of the South, still got those Southern roots handing down below. You still got a lot of Make America Great times, and you're trying to figure out when America was great. You're still trying to figure it out down here as well. So I think don't let the North fool you, but I do think we're more progressive than what you're going to find in probably a Raleigh. We do have a black mayor currently, Vkillz. We had a black mayor, I think, when I moved down. Was it Pat Cannon? Now, he did go to jail for, you know, taking some money he wasn't supposed to. So we did have, you know, kind of slip up with that. But we had a black male mayor. We had a interim mayor in between. What was her name? Last name Roberts, I believe. And I've actually met her a few times. She was actually really cool. And now we have Vkillz, who is a black woman mayor. So, you know, you see the progression here and there. And it's definitely, again, a more progressive city than probably Raleigh is currently. Now, when it comes to events and nightlife, I mean, Charlotte wins hands down. I don't know if Raleigh can even enter the conversation. I'm sorry to the Raleighans. I lived there, and when I was there, I felt like Raleigh had it all. That's why I didn't want to leave. It's because I felt like Raleigh had it all. It was fun, nonstop parties, going to Glenwood, going to Hillsborough, having fun, all this, that, and the third. Now, looking back on it, the fun and excitement isn't there at Raleigh. I'm sorry. When you come to Charlotte, you got the Carowinds, you got Panthers, you got Hornets, you got the Charlotte Checkers, and you got the Charlotte Knights, which is our minor league baseball team. You got the clubs, you got CIAA when it used to be here, or do they even do it now that, you know, the pandemic is happening? But we did used to have CIAA season. We had the NBA All-Stars, what was it, 2 years ago, 2019? We had the NBA All-Stars. So that, you know, when you get the All-Stars, you start feeling yourself like you a real city now. We doing it with the big leagues, the Atlantas, the New Yorks. We have an all-star weekend here. So the celebrities was coming down here at that point. You got NASCAR for the people who are into NASCAR. Charlotte, along with Daytona Beach is the second headquarters. When I think about, you know, events and nightlife in Raleigh, you got the Carolina Hurricanes, so that would be your hockey team there. They don't have any professional sports. A lot of it is, you know, centered around college sports. So you might go to a Wolfpack basketball game. You might go to a Wolfpack football game. You might go to Tar Heels basketball game. You might go to a Duke basketball game. They have a lot of collegiate sports around the area. You can go somewhere in the 919 and find something to do, but it's a lot slower paced. And when I have gone back kind of as an adult post-college, I was like, what is there to do? Like, what is there literally to do? Manage your expectations. There is a lot more to do relatively. Now, again, Charlotte ain't the bustling city of a DC, the bustling city of a LA. It's not a bustling city of a New York or Atlanta, but it's certainly more than what you're going to get out of Raleigh. Now, when it comes to malls and shopping, who wins, Charlotte or Raleigh? There's only one city in North Carolina who has an IKEA. There's only one city in North Carolina who has a Louis Vuitton store. There's only one city that has a Gucci store. And that, of course, is Charlotte. Charlotte is the only city that has a lot of shopping outlets. If you're into shopping, you're into spending that coin, you're ready to money to blow, you can blow it more in Charlotte than I think relatively in Raleigh. Now, Raleigh does have some great, you know, places. You can go to South Point, you can go to Crabtree Valley Mall, you got the mall places. But I think you got the premium outlets in Charlotte. You got the Concord Mills outlet Charlotte Mall, which was a big deal when it came like 20 years ago. Now, I don't find myself going to Concord Mills that much, but it's there if you want an outlet experience. We've got South Park Mall, which is where we have all our upscale kind of stores, the Gucci's, the Louis Vuittons, the Neiman Marcus's, the bigger scale stores are at our South Park Mall. But again, if you go into IKEA, I run into IKEA all the time. It used to be right by where I live, so it would take me 2 minutes to go to IKEA. And then I have my Raleigh friends like, dang it, you right there. And if I drove all the way down there, I had to get a U-Haul and then drive all the way back. It'd be too much. And the shipping is like $200 to ship something. So I was like, yeah, I kind of got it made over here with the IKEA. I mean, my whole home. You guys see my things in my house. It's furnished by IKEA, which shows how cheap I am probably. But nonetheless, we do have a lot more shopping. Now, dating. I had a little section in my video about dating, the last video. And, that's a controversial subject. Some people will watch this video and say I had no trouble at all, and then some people say I have all the trouble. It's such a relative to who the person you're talking to is, what their experience has been with dating. So you can have an amazing experience or you can have a terrible experience with dating, and it's just your experience and nobody takes it away from you or can negate what you're saying. But the News and Observer has said if you're single in one North Carolina city, you might not be for too long. And again, this was in a 2020 article. That's because the Raleigh metro area is among the top places in the country for daters. Survey results released earlier this month show the region's dating scene ranks number 3 in the U.S., surging from the 28th spot held last year, according to findings with Apartment List, a website for renters. The influx of young professionals entering the area every year, mixed with the students attending local North Carolina State University, is likely one of the reasons for the increase in dating satisfaction. Now, again, I looked up that stat because in my last video, I mentioned that Raleigh is a better city. And I said, I think I saw it somewhere. So I was like, let me actually research for the video where I'm doing the comparison. That's because I've always heard Raleigh is a better city for dating than Charlotte is, quite honestly. There's a lot more people I know who met their spouse in Raleigh than the people I know who actually met their spouse in Charlotte. Like, I know people who are married in Charlotte, but I know a lot of people who like met in Columbia, South Carolina, and both moved to Charlotte. And now they're a married couple technically in Charlotte, but they technically didn't meet in Charlotte, if you know what I'm saying. I said in my last video, but I'm somebody who wants to come with facts and numbers. Raleigh is ranked number 3 in the country for dating, for singles. And I again, like I said, NC State, I was there when I was in Raleigh. Did I date? Yeah, of course I dated. I was in college. College was the perfect time for dating because it's not that hard. You see somebody on campus every single day finally, and you see him long enough, you're like, I actually might like him, and we might actually need to go on a date. And so that's how dating happens kind of organically there. So college, I dated, all 4 years I dated throughout the college experience. Now I come down here and it ain't the same. It ain't the same at all. But I think that's the thing too. Like this article suggests, a lot of people actually go to NC State, might stay local, might happen to, get their jobs, be employed and all that, and they run into another fellow NC State grad and be like, young professional, we ain't got nothing to do here. Let's just get married. Let's actually settle down, because what else is there to do in this city? And it's not a bad thing. I don't say that in a bad way, but like I mentioned in my last video, I think the idea, the premise, I got a question in my last video, is it that there aren't guys in Charlotte, or is it that they're not ready to settle down? And I think it's the latter. I think it's they're not ready to settle down. I think there are physically males who exist. There are physically males who exist in this city. I got a comment in that video that said, hey, I moved to Charlotte January the something. They gave the exact date in 2021, and I've been on 2 dates. So there are people. And again, like I mentioned at the top of this video, that's awesome. People have different experiences, but my experience has been, you met 2 single guys. Are they ready to settle down? And I've been set up. People have said, hey, I know an amazing guy for you. I'm going to give him your information. And then the guy messages me, and then I get the vibe through the conversation. He's perfectly okay being single. Like sometimes people try to set up their guy friend because they feel like he's ready to settle down. Like, oh, he's 37. He's 37. Talia's a little bit younger, because I'm somebody who's like, oh, I don't mind dating a little bit older. That guys are probably ready to settle down a little bit older. And here in Charlotte, that's not necessarily the case. They might be 37, 40 and be like, oh, I'm okay. I'm going to the club this weekend. I'm going to go to a game. I'm going to see Panthers. I'm going to do all this, that, and the third. I think because there's more to do, people feel like, why settle down now? I'll settle down when I want to settle down later. And why settle down right this moment? So I'm finding a lot of guys who feel like they're ready, but then they're also on the same point, like, I still want to be single. Like, I want to be single. Ain't nothing wrong with being single, but I'm somebody who, I'm not ready to be single. So I'm not dating to hook up. I'm not a hookup type of a girl. I'm looking for the long haul. And then you go out with somebody and they're like, oh, let's go back to your place. And it's like, no, okay, so you're not the right one for me. You're not looking for a long time, you're looking for a good time, and I'm looking for a long time. So I think the number of people looking for a long time is greater in Raleigh than there is in Charlotte, but I don't want to offend any guys out there. There are plenty of amazing, smart, educated men here. Again, I just don't think they're ready to go the long haul. Now, weather, when it comes to both areas, we both have seasons. So Charlotte has seasons and Raleigh has seasons. So you get to see the spring, summer, fall, and winter, and you get to actually see it. Although we didn't really have, snow this season. I know Texas, prayers still going out to Texas to what they had to go through a couple weeks ago, but you do get to see the seasons. Typically, you'll see the leaves fall, you see them change color, you'll see the beautiful foliage, but spring can be a nightmare sometimes for your allergies, but summer is summer here too. So I think that's one of the things that is great about both cities. You're going to get weather in both cities. There might be a 2-degree differential between the two cities, but we're not that far apart from each other when it comes to weather. You're not getting extremely hotness over here and it's like cold up there. It's like we're pretty even matched. It might be 88 here, might be 86 there or 85 there. So again, not too far off either city. I do think you get more rain there when there are hurricanes because it's a little bit more inland than Charlotte is. So I've been there during like hurricane season when I was in college, and I would like there one year was so terrible. It was so terrible. I remember I got so mad at my boyfriend that year because he went to KFC and got some mashed potatoes and gravy and all this stuff while it was a freaking hurricane coming through. And I remember it being so terrible. Like I was scared. Like I wasn't mad because he went to KFC. It was like it's a freaking hurricane. The rain, the winds were so crazy. Trees were being knocked down. I think classes were canceled for the rest of the day, and he then went to KFC. But here, I think I texted my mom and it wasn't like that bad. It was like lighter rain. So I do think when there are hurricanes on the coast, you still don't get the full effect of the hurricane. Sometimes you do, but like I remember like Shaw University, which is a college nearby, or was it St. Aug? No, it was Shaw. Like they had it way worse than we even had it at State. I think because State is not as tree lined as Shaw is, but still, it was crazy that year. So the next point I want to talk on is career. And I got this very poignant comment in my last video, and I wanted to kind of address it in this video just because I don't want to seem like I'm glossing over anything or not talking about something. I want to talk about something, but I want to have to do the research on it too. So got this comment. You were on point, especially about the housing. The one thing I wish you would have touched on more is the employment and how the option of jobs that are readily available are usually ones that pay the lower end of the spectrum. Jobs pay $8 to $11 per hour. The jobs will not let you afford nice housing close to the city. I learned that lesson the hard way. Still great video. And I wanted to address that in this video because in the last video I talked about the careers, the opportunities for people here and the jobs you can get, but I think I glossed over the pay scale. I did talk heavily. I tried to talk about underemployment because, of course we had unemployment a lot during 2020, but the underemployment meaning that you're somebody who maybe got a bachelor or even got a master's, PhD, and you're not making what you expected to make coming out of, the promises of if you get a bachelor's, you're going to start out making $55,000, $60,000 a year, and then you're getting, $24,000 a year, that kind of thing. So I talked about underemployment, but I didn't touch a lot on kind of the super underemployment, the unemployment rate, the not finding sustainable jobs that can help you find housing in that last video because I hadn't done the research, and I'm not the person who will come on a channel and spew all this stuff and I don't know what I'm talking about. You guys should know I'm very research based, so I hadn't done the research. And this video I wanted to do some digging. YouTube and Clubhouse and all these apps are filled with people who claim to be know-it-alls and everything, and I've never claimed to be a know-it-all, so I'll do research when I need to do research. Like I mentioned in my last video, I came down here for a job. When I graduated from college, or when I was in the process about to graduate from college, I was a late start when I started applying for jobs. A lot of my classmates started applying for jobs December of 2011. I graduated in 2012, and I didn't start looking until March 2012, like 2 months before graduation. And I was like, oh my gosh, like so behind on the curve, so scared. And I happened to apply for some Raleigh jobs and some Charlotte jobs. I had some interviews in Raleigh. It didn't go well. I had my interview in Charlotte, and it actually went really well. I remember taking the Amtrak down here, and I interviewed for that job. And I just did it because, hey, the Raleigh jobs weren't getting back to me, and I really did not want to leave Raleigh at the time. But I got hired in Charlotte. Pretty good job, I thought at the time, for a college graduate coming out of school. It was a program, a HR development program. I thank the Lord. I thank the Lord that I was fortunate to find kind of a job because I know that's not the reality of a lot of people who graduate from college. So I did the math. There are 4 million students a year who graduate from college 2 million graduate and earn a bachelor's degree. And then I thought about that. Do you think there are 2 million jobs created each year paying $50,000 or plus new jobs? Like, I'm thinking about it and I'm like, in May, when students are typically graduating, is my current job going to have 30 openings for entry level, been out in the career type people? Absolutely not. There's absolutely not. You can people luck up all the time, but there are not literally 2 million entry level jobs created each year. You have some senior level jobs. You have people who left the company and now you have a senior accountant or senior manager of transportation or senior this, but you don't have 2 million jobs for those people who got the bachelor's degrees and got you think the degrees mean something, but then when you graduate on that certain date, if you graduated in 2008 when the market was flopping the way it did in 2008, it wasn't amazingly well that you had a college degree. You were coming out at a very bad time. So doing the research, I found out that in North Carolina's minimum wage is $7.25, but in Mecklenburg County, a living wage, the hourly wage that is required to pay necessities, is slightly higher. The MTI living wage calculator puts us at $12.58 for a single adult, and then $24.69 for an adult with one child. So to even a livable wage, to be able to live, you need to at least make $12.59 for a single adult and $24.69 if you have just one child. That's just one child. And $7.25 ain't gonna cover it. So the US is already a country that's ranked very low when it comes to economic mobility, which is somebody's ability to change their income or wealth. So meaning that if I at 20 would be considered poor or lower class, how easy is it for me to at 40 to be rich? Or how easy is it for me at 30 to be middle class? Or how easy is it for me to move across income lines, wage lines, wealth lines? How easy is it? In the US, we're already ranked terribly. In countries like Denmark and Finland and European countries, easy. You might be born in a poor class, you could possibly die a rich and wealthy man. Whereas here in the US, if you are born poor, unfortunately, the statistic is you might unfortunately pass away poor. So we need to do better at the US. But Charlotte placed dead last in a ranking of 50 cities in the US when it comes to economic mobility. So we were dead last, 50 out of 50 when it came to that. And the article goes on to say Charlotte, like the rest of America, has lost manufacturing job that once provided that middle class wage. And I compare that to states like Michigan. Michigan used to be a bubbling town for the automobile industry. Detroit was a city where black, white alike could be in the middle class until the automotive industry kind of shut down in Michigan. And then you saw a lot of that economic mobility shift in states like Michigan. Same thing in Charlotte. Manufacturing was high here, so you would have many people who could make a living, earn a wage, and actually provide a middle class life. When things like that went away, all things went to shambles here, which is leading to us being 50th out of 50. In Mecklenburg County, 32% of workers are employed in occupations that pay a minimum wage of less than $15 an hour. So that means only 68% of people make more than $15 an hour here. Meanwhile, the median rent for 2-bedroom apartments are $1,000 a month. So this is the median rent in our city is $1,000 a month. That's why I said $1,200 ain't bad for me. I mean, it's not crazy, but $1,000 a month. To keep rent costs below the recommended maximum 30% of income, a worker would need to earn $19.77 an hour. So if minimum wage is $7.25 and you have 32% people in this city making less than $15 an hour, no, economic mobility is not great here. No, you're not paying people enough to be able to afford the $1,000 apartment. So we had an area called Tent City here in Charlotte. Tent City was an area sprawled across kind of the uptown area, kind of like on the border of the outskirts of uptown area, of people who were displaced, people who did not have homes. They were living in these tents, and it was a tent city. It really just ended within the last 2 weeks. The city had to come in and condemn it because it was causing, they said it was causing some kind of rat problem or something within the city, so they had to shut it down. And everybody who was living in the tent city was offered 3 months at an undisclosed hotel, so those people could go live in a hotel. But when you saw it, it was crazy. Like that, being able to see the homelessness that was here in Charlotte, it was like you see it in pockets. You just kind of see it here, you see it there, you see it near the men's shelter, you go kind of uptown, you see the people there. They even put the benches in uptown. If you go to the seating in uptown, they put the benches so that they have a middle kind of arm in there so the homeless population couldn't sleep on the benches. You still see it, but when it became to Tent City, you saw it even worse. You saw it kind of in one place, and it was tents lining up, and that forced Charlotte to have to take a look at things. Are they changing things? I don't think they are. I don't think they're going to make affordable housing a thing here in Charlotte. And that's what sucks, is they're not going to make it a priority here. Seeing in the lineup of people, all they did was give them a hotel. And I was like, what's going to happen after 3 months? What are you going to do? Like, feasibly, what is the 3 months? Are you going to extend it? Because then they can just create another tent city somewhere else, or they're going to just revamp the tent city. You're not creating actual solutions. You had months to come up with a solution as tent city grew. Tent city has been a thing since the past a year almost. It's been an actual thing. So economic mobility, the jobs out there that actually pay, there's only 62% of jobs out here pay more than $15 an hour, and still you need to make $19 an hour to make a livable wage. I definitely wanted to address that in today's video. I wanted to talk about, Charlotte, probably more than Raleigh, is worse for economic mobility, seeing people be able to change their wealth status, to change their class status, to change everything, probably in a worse way than Raleigh is, unfortunately. And I think it's just because we're a bigger metropolitan city. But having done that research, I did still want to talk about the opportunities here, the job opportunities here, if you are still looking to move down here. Like I mentioned in my last video, we do have 7 Fortune 500 companies in the metropolitan area: Bank of America, Honeywell, Nucor, Lowe's, Duke Energy, Sonic Automotive, Bright House. We have a lot of food industries: Harris Teeter, Snyder's Lance. We have Coca-Cola Consolidated, so not the Coca-Cola headquarters, that's in Atlanta, but the Consolidated Bottling Company, that is here. That side of the business is housed here. We have a lot more than Raleigh. Raleigh doesn't have as many like Fortune 500. They have people who've made the Fortune list. So they have Bandwidth, BB&T Insurance Services, so the insurance side, which probably is Truist now since they changed, Capital Broadcasting, Golden Corral, Red Hat, and Waste Industry. So we have a lot more industries here. We have a lot more corporate entities here in Charlotte. We have a lot more of the health side of the business. So I think when it comes to securing a job, it's going to depend on what you're doing. I have a lot of friends who work in Raleigh who actually work in IT, who actually found careers in IT. NC State has a great IT program. A lot of people I went to school with actually graduated with IT degrees and maybe worked at SAS is up there. What is up there? Cisco is up there in the Cary area. They have a lot of IT companies jobs. So I think if you are IT driven, go to either city. I think if you are a nurse, honey, that's why I don't like to give blanket statements about, oh my God, it sucks for Charlotte. It sucks, because it's going to depend on what you do. There's nurses. I have a lot of followers who watch me who are actually nurses out there. If you're a nurse, go anywhere, because nurses are gold anywhere. I interviewed for a job at Novant Health, which is a hospital here in Charlotte, and I was going to be a sourcing recruiter for their nursing industry. And I knew I was going to blow that interview because they were like pushing on me that it's hard to recruit nurses. You're going to have to be a good salesperson. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. They're like, you have to pull people who are currently nurses somewhere else. You're going to have to pull them from their current jobs because we need people. Nursing is an industry. I think there was already a team of 10, so I was going to be joining a team of 10, and they probably could see right through me because at that time I was 6 years younger than I am now. I was like, oh yeah, I can do that, no problem. I feel like now I think I can be a little bit more smoother with my pitching for nurses. But if you are a nurse, honey, you write your own ticket. If you're IT, I think you write your own ticket. If you're IT and you know what you're doing, if you know systems, ERP systems, if you know financial systems, especially financial systems, if you know logistics systems, you're going to be squared away. If you can write Salesforce, if you know Salesforce, learn Salesforce, because you don't even need a degree. You don't need a bachelor's degree to learn Salesforce. You don't even need associate. So I'm very much so results driven. I'm somebody who doesn't like to give, the negative and be the downer. That's why I don't feel like I focused on it enough in my first video, and I'm sorry for that. But I do want to be somebody who turns a negative into a positive. I want to give solutions. I want to give you guys solutions if you're somebody who's in an industry. Because again, there are people who watch my videos who maybe work in a certain industry. Is Charlotte good for what industry I'm in? I think think if you're in banking, you're going to be fine here. Bank of America is here. Wells Fargo has an entity here as well. If you're finance heavy driven, if you're a lawyer and you do corporate law as it pertains to financial, I think you're going to be good here. A lot of law firms are looking for corporate lawyers who can help with their financial clients. We are one of the, if not the lowest paid state when it comes to teaching. For the last 2 years, I think they skipped it in 2020, but 2019, and I believe in 2018, they did teacher strikes at the Capitol in Raleigh. No, it's not good. It's not good here for teaching. I think teaching is a career that you know, when you enter it, you don't think you're going to make $120,000 a year, but you think you're going to be making a livable, earnable, good wage. That's not the reality here in North Carolina. I know there was a big pullback a couple years ago where I had a lot of teaching people I knew who went down to Texas because they were paying a lot more in Texas than they were paying here. A lot of Houston people. They've since kind of moved back, but I know at least 3 teachers who moved out of this state to go somewhere else to make more money being a teacher, because it's ridiculous what we pay teachers here in North Carolina. Again, one of the worst places. If you're a teacher watching me, I wouldn't do it unless you love the students, which if you get into teaching already, you got to have a love and passion for it. You got to have an even greater love and passion in this good old state. Now, when it comes to education, which place is better? Is it Raleigh or is it Charlotte? Education has to probably go to Raleigh. Raleigh area and the surrounding areas is a lot better than the Charlotte area. Charlotte Mecklenburg school system is ranked 39th in the list of 100 school systems of the state. So 39th, number 1 is the Chapel Hill Carrboro City Schools. Number 3 is Union County School System, which is the county over from Charlotte Mecklenburg. And number 9 is Wake County. So Wake County is the county that Raleigh is in. So that's 9. Charlotte Mecklenburg is 39. So if you're looking to, you got a school age child and you're thinking about if you're teeter-tottering between either city and education is what's pushing you, you can either A, live in Wake County and Raleigh and kind of have that school system, or B, you can work in Charlotte, but you can live on the surrounding counties. There's Cabarrus County, there's Union County, York County, which is in South Carolina. A lot of people actually live in South Carolina and work in Charlotte. York County has an extraordinarily great school system as well. So if schooling is important to you, Charlotte is probably not. The city is not. Not to say there are not amazing schools here. I have an amazing friend. I'm going to shout you out, girl, because I know you watch my videos, but she went to Harding University High, which is a school here in Charlotte, then went to Chapel Hill, and then got her master's at Wake Forest. So you can come up in the Charlotte Mecklenburg school system and still do phenomenally well. Don't ever think that, hey, I go in a school system that's ranked low, I'm not going to make anything of myself. You can. If you have that personal drive, you can do it all. But again, if you're thinking about school systems, and again, I don't personally have children in school systems, but I've worked at jobs who have people in school systems, and a lot of them do the York County schools, or when I worked uptown, a lot of them went to Union County or actually lived in Union County. So that was a good school system as well. But when it comes to higher ed, when it comes to colleges, North Carolina got them colleges. You can move anywhere in the state, get that public tuition and go, write your ticket at an NC State. Of course, I'm going to go up for NC State, but you got the NC UNCGs, you got your University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Of course, I got to say them. University of North Carolina, Asheville. You got Appalachian State, East Carolina, Fayetteville State University, Elizabeth City University. You got University of North Carolina in Charlotte. You got, if you go on private, you got Duke University. You got Wake Forest University School of Chris Paul. But how could I not mention Michael Jordan, who went to Chapel Hill? You got the schools here, not just for the academics. They got some good academics as well, but we got some amazing schools for the athletics as well. So again, education-wise, you can't go wrong with Raleigh, but you can't go wrong with living in Charlotte and probably going to the surrounding areas too. That has been my comparison of Charlotte to Raleigh. I hope this video helped. If it did, give it a big thumbs up. Even if it did not, give it a big thumbs up. I'm gonna get a lot of questions about where I got my sweatshirt from. I got this from when I was there, when I was at school. So it was like at a bookstore. Got some questions about where I got my sweatshirt from in my Charlotte video. I got that from a local boutique in Charlotte, but we are 2021. The internet exists. So I'm sure it's somewhere on the internet you can find some kind of Charlotte sweatshirt, but because I lived in Raleigh and I lived in Charlotte, I have direct access to stores that have the merch. But definitely make sure that you are subscribed to my channel so you don't miss anything that I do over here, and make sure that you are following me on Instagram at Lia Lavon 89 so you can keep up with my shenanigans in real time. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Tell me what you wanting.